So it's early morning and I've come out to one of the places that I photographed in autumn. Actually, it made my second most popular video ever, most popular video from last year. And I was promised fog, and I have a tiny wee bit of fog just in the upper parts of the forest here behind me. So yeah, I've popped on the long lens, and right now I'm just zooming in to the very top of the forest. You can see all the way up here. I found a fairly nice composition right here. I'll just film it with the long lens, then you can see what I mean. And it actually works really well. I have like one little tree in the middle that stands out and becomes my focal point and my anchor point in the photo. And then I of course use the fog to create that depth and separation between the trees. This photo completely wouldn't work without the fog, but the fog creates that super important depth in the photo. So I'm also making a vertical version of this photo. So I'm including the lake, and then I have like a line of reeds, as you can see right here, and then I'm using the depth that the fog creates into the photo. Now, the ongoing negative thing about making these videos is that it is very hard to suddenly change my settings and change mentality when I see something happening while I have focus on making videos for you. And from time to time, I've actually seen that there are some swans flying into the scene and through the scene. They are very hard to catch because there's so low light right now. So I really have to up the ISO to like ISO 3200. And then I have to lower down the aperture so I can get a faster shutter speed. But I do manage to capture a few photos with swans flying into the scene. I'm not entirely sure if they will actually benefit the scene because they're kind of flying like, away and not into the scene. So I'm not sure I'm going to include the swans in the photo, blend them in afterwards, because obviously I want a clean photo as a base photo and then I'm blending in the birds afterwards. But yeah, here are the photos. If you struggle with composition in landscape photography, be sure to pick up my 2 ebooks on exactly that topic. I have designed the ebooks to be very easy to read with minimal text and loads of examples as to get to the point fast. Both ebooks, Landscape Composition 1 and 2, has loads of 5-star reviews. You will find the links to both the free light versions and the full versions in the description of this video. So today's video is totally going to be about how the long lens saves the day. Because at that previous location I gave up, the fog didn't manifest, and maybe I would just put that sequence into another video or something like that. But on my way home, came through this beautiful heath area. You can see here, beautiful heath area, and I have a nice view out to the forests over here. You can see how the fog and the mist is like coming up, and I'm definitely going to catch that I just need to get to this hill here behind me. But on the way I just saw the view down here that I'm catching with my long lens that also looks very, very beautiful. There's so much mist in the air that it completely separates the layers also in this scene here, and I think it's very beautiful. It's very simple. It's not going to be the best shot. I think the previous shot was better, but definitely this one is totally worth getting. So f/16 ISO 100 long lens at a little bit more than 300mm gives me a shutter speed of 1/4 of a second, 5-second shutter delay, straight on, get the shot, and now I'm going to get to that hill there. So I made it to the top of the hill, and this is just absolutely beautiful. I know maybe for someone who lives in a mountainous area like Oregon or Smoky Mountains, something like that, that this here is probably not that interesting, because it happens for you guys all the time probably. But for a little Dane like me living in a relatively flat country, finding a place and finding a viewpoint, I really need to find more of these viewpoints where you can see how the forest is, it's getting all poetic, is almost breathing. You can see how the mist and the fog is evaporating and coming up. You really do not see this every day in Denmark. I have another video from, not last year, 2020, where I got something a little bit equal to this. And it is in kind of the same forest area. It is back home here where I've grown up. But the thing is, when you're a child, you just do not appreciate the beauty. But when you see it as a landscape photographer, then you're like, yeah, this works. So the photography process is actually very simple. I've zoomed all the way in to 400mm, shooting at f/16. Even though I'm shooting at something very far away, I do think that if I was shooting at a lower aperture, I wouldn't get the entire scene in focus. If I was focusing on the foreground, I probably would. I don't know. I haven't calculated it, so I don't bother with it. There's not so much wind that it does make a huge difference. I do get a shutter speed of 1/5 of a second when I'm shooting at ISO 100, and I can even, like, get all the way up to half a second and get completely sharp photos. So it's not really a huge deal. So compositionally, it's very simple. I'm just finding a scene where I find there to be a proper balance. It's a little bit left heavy in the foreground, but it is countered by a little bit of heaviness to the right here in the background. So I think this specific composition works really, really well. I'm just going to dial up my exposure a little bit, so I'm getting a nice and clean photo, not underexposed. And that's basically it. So I'm just trying to find different places where I can zoom in and get a shot. It's fairly simple photography with the long lens. It really is just the one to save the day. It's so good at simplifying the landscape and making sure that you can really zoom in to the things that you want to highlight in your scene. And it just, like, simplifies the scene and cuts away everything that you really do not need in your scene. So yeah, long lens saves the day yet again. And hopefully I got some beautiful atmospheric photos today. So here they are. These and many more techniques and editing philosophies are some I cover in my huge Photoshop for landscape photographers post-processing course. I've designed the course as for all to get started with Photoshop, no matter if you're an avid user of Lightroom or a beginner. The full course is 29 plus videos and 19 plus hours in total, and I've included the files for you to follow along. Be sure to use the YouTube discount code shown in the description of the video to save some money. Also check out the mentioned ebooks if you want to learn more about composition in landscape photography. As per always, I'd highly appreciate both a like and a comment, and I hope you learned a thing or two or got some inspiration for your own landscape photography.